All right, let's find the square root of x to the 7th over 36. When you have a fraction under a radical sign, and we have the square root of a fraction, what we can do is separate the numerator and denominator into individual square roots, just like this. So we'll have a fraction bar, and we will do the square root of x to the 7th over the square root of 36. Okay, so the square root of a quotient is the quotient of these individual square roots. So we'll take the easy part first. The square root of 36 is basically the square root of 6 squared. So that's pretty simple to deal with. When we have the square root of something squared, in other words, the index and the exponent match, they kind of cancel each other out, right? So the square root of 36 is 6. So once we have that out of the way, we really just need to take a look at this numerator. The square root of x to the 7th. What do we do with that? Let me show you. Here's a little side work. We want to look at x to the 7th and find pairs of exponents. So let's just look at x to the 7th, and well, we know we can use our exponent rules and we can separate it out. There, I'll even get rid of the square root for you at first. So let's just kind of see what can we do. Let's see, x squared times, making sure it's a 2, times x squared, right? Times x squared, that accounts for 6 of the 7, times x to the 1st power. So remember that if I'm multiplying the same base x's in this case, however many times, I can just add these exponents, right? So we have what? We have 2, 4, 6, and then 7, right? So I know all is accounted for as in terms of x to the 7th power. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is let's take it back into the square root. So when we're going to take it back to that numerator in the original problem, we're going to take it back as the square root of all these factors. Let me show you how that goes. So I'm putting my equal sign a little further to the left, so I give myself a little room. And here's my fraction bar. Here's the 6 I already dealt with. And what did we have? We had x squared. I'm going to put the radical sign in there after x squared, right? And x squared and x to the 1st power. And we want the square root of all of these things. Now, remember that when we have the square root of something squared, right? We have the base to extract, right? So if I have the square root of x squared, right? So we have this first one. So that'll be 1x that gets to come out, okay? Again, we'll have another x that comes out, right? Because we have the square root of x squared again. Again, we have square root of x squared, right? So 1, 2, 3. That makes 3 x's that I can extract from the square root. So what I'm doing here is I'm writing them out in the front of the square root symbol, but that x to the 1st power, right, that one single x is not a perfect square. So we'll leave that in the square root symbol. So what are we going to do with all of these x's out in the front? It's 3 x's multiplied by one another. So what I'm going to do is write that as x cubed square root of x, right? And then over 6. As it's written here, I cannot simplify it any further. This is as simplified as this radical expression will get. Okay? So that would be how we would simplify the radical expression x to the 7th over 36. Square root of x to the 7th divided by 36, right? Okay, if you have any questions, let me know.